And hey, everybody, this is Mark Sims. This is my little podcast I'm developing as we go along. And this is just a few questions with Eric Grant. Eric Grant is my guest. This is the second little interview we did. We're going to talk about college and getting our kids, our children, not kids, children to matriculate and graduate. Hey, Eric Grant, you have children in college, out of college. What's the deal?
So I've got one that's a graduate of Howard. He graduated number one in his class from Howard University Engineering School.
Wait. I saw this on Facebook, but I wasn't paying attention. Say that again.
Yeah, my boy, Irie Dale Grant II, named after my dad. He graduated number one in his class in the Engineering School of Howard in class of 20. What year are we at? 19. He got 16.
20. He graduated 2016. It's been 3 years already. Damn.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 2018.
2018.
I get my years mixed
It's been
up.
1 year already. Well,
Yeah.
That's impressive. The parents should be very, very proud.
No, man. See, that's the thing, man. See, this is going to go too long if you take me there. This is all about expectations. He did what he was supposed to do. He's supposed to graduate number one in his class. Like when you run a race, you're supposed to expect to win.
But sometimes you expect to win and you lose. You know that. You can't win every race.
Well, yeah. So you have to learn how to lose gracefully, but you have to also expect to win. You can't go into no race without expecting to win. So, yeah, I congratulate my son for doing a good job, but I'm not amazed. That's what he's supposed to do. That's the way I've kind of taught my children. You're supposed to do well.
And you have a daughter.
That's it.
You have a daughter in college now, right?
My daughter, she's a terrific student. She's a chemistry major at Spelman College, who I love Spelman College too, by the way.
I thought she went to Howard. See, I see them pictures on Facebook, but I don't really pay attention to them. I thought she went to Howard too.
Yeah, she's at Spelman, and they've done a great job with my daughter. She went there to become a doctor, and somehow some harebrained ass somebody turned her into a chemistry teacher. So now she's student teaching in Atlanta and finishing off her senior year at Spelman.
Man, so they led her astray. That's how it goes. That's how life goes, though, man. Now,
But, she's a straight A student though too. She'll graduate near the top of her class at Spelman.
Now, it's really hard because a lot of students, I don't know, especially state schools, I think 50% of the state school students drop out college. I don't know the percentage that drop out and eventually go back as adults. I don't know those numbers, but it's really hard for a young person to graduate, whether it takes 4 years, 5 years, or 6 years, try to matriculate straight through college. It's really, really hard. Now, we talked about expectations, but right now there are students, we're taping this in August, there are students going back to school, going to college, a lot for the first time, a lot first generation. Do you have any advice to get these students through college and not drop out?
So, I've spent a lot of time on this subject. When my wife and I first had our first son, Irie, we immediately started strategizing on how we were going to get him through his life. It's a strategy behind that. And it's a strategy that our community is really mostly not informed about. Like, for instance, if you've got a junior high school student right now, you should be having them take the SAT and ACT starting now. And they should take it as many times as the rules allow, which I think is 12. Right? Mm-hmm. You should get your students tutoring. Invest in tutoring now. Tutoring is less expensive than college tuition. Get them tutoring so that you can get their GPA and their test scores in a place where you qualify for scholarships. That's all that matters. All that AP, all that IB stuff that they try to drag you into, absent your GPA and your test scores, you don't earn scholarships. You just have accolades and ribbons and stuff that you can point to. So what do I tell the students who are heading out right now? Listen, you're going to come home most of the time, not because you're partying too much, because you're going to run out of money. It's time for you to be a grown person now and be vested in how this thing is getting financed, how it's getting paid for. Back in the day when I went to Howard, tuition was $7,000 a year. When my son started at Howard, it's $52,000 a year. That's exponential growth. And it's almost impossible for most of us who are in the middle class to pay for. So you got to figure out how to finance this thing the right way. And part of it is investing early in your child's high school and junior high school education. Get them tutoring, get them test prep for these standardized test scores, and take that test over and over and over until you get the score you need to get scholarships.
Eric Grant, would you agree or disagree that some students, especially first generation, they buy too much college than they can afford? They want to go to their dream school at 30, 40, 50 grand a year when they should go to Governor State or Chicago State or maybe start at a local community college. Isn't that a good strategy for some students?
Well, I mean, yeah, for some students, if it's absolutely necessary to get started, yes. But you can't trade your freshman year experience if you're going to college. You can't trade the friendships and camaraderie that you get your freshman year. Those are people who will be your friends, coworkers, your contacts for the rest of your life because of that shared experience. So, if you can't get that, yeah, I agree. Maybe hit the community college. But when you come into a 4-year school as a transfer, you're kind of at that point an outsider, and the network for you isn't as robust. And let me say this too, Mark. I think people look at a college education or a university education the wrong way. They exchange or they interchange a trade school education or a 2-year degree with a 4-year degree. If you're going to a university or college setting, you're not going there to learn how to do something. You're going there to learn how to learn. So it kind of matters, but it doesn't really matter what your major is. You should major in something that interests you with the goal being, I'm going to get here, I'm going to learn how to learn. I can't tell you how many, in my field, financial advisors or money managers, I can't tell you how many money managers have engineering degrees. Because the process of learning engineering is applicable to managing money as a portfolio manager. So that's a prime example how it doesn't matter necessarily what your major is. What you got to embrace if you go into a college or university setting is I'm here to learn how to learn. Now, if you go to a trade school or a 2-year school, you're usually learning how to perform a task, welding, roofing, or accounting, coding, something like that. That's different than a college or university education. So, a person comes home because they're not ready for, or they don't understand what they're there to do. You're here to learn how to learn. That's the whole purpose of a college and university.
You're absolutely correct, and I totally agree. It seems like I don't have the hard statistics. All I do is anecdotal stuff. Is that a lot of students, since they don't have wonderful parents, like a parent like Eric Grant, and they may be too intimidated to befriend a professor or someone on campus that's going to help them, because we all need mentors on some level, either to help us academically, financially, whatever. Or some students need a good kick in their butt. But we weren't raised in a family to understand how do we even go to people and be embarrassed and get help and get through college, either financially, academically, or whatever. How do we do this? How do we encourage the children who don't have wonderful parents to get the help they need?
Yeah, and not having the parents means that you lack the exposure. And a lot of these things are all about exposure. You probably have heard the stories before, people who are from the south or west side of Chicago who've never been in or been around or seen downtown in person, or the north side for that matter. And that's about exposure. Once you get there, people don't have horns and they're not all about to kill you. You learn this kind of stuff. I think as a society, we need to expect the school systems, private and public, to do more, have a more robust exposure mechanism for our students. So, urban prep, for all the good and bad that urban prep has, they expose the students in a certain way that drives them towards that direction, towards college. Now, there's other people who don't like the charter school experience and who think urban prep's numbers are inflated. One thing you can't argue, though, is when you get to urban prep, the talk with you is about college, and you're immersed in how you get to college. And whether you go or not becomes your choice, but you don't lack information. That's a prime example of immersing students or exposing students in a way that allows them to learn, even if their parents aren't capable of giving that exposure.
I can talk about this forever, Eric Grant, but I got to
too.
end the show, man. Can I have you back at some point, man?
Anytime, man. I ain't got nothing but time. I'm chilling.
All right, Eric Grant's a financial planner, great parent, talk show host. I'll try to put a few links on the bottom of this video, so maybe somebody want to ask you a few questions.
Hey,
Thanks.
man, let's share your podcast on our YouTube channel as well. Can we do that?
Oh, you the man. All right, thanks, Eric Grant. Talk to you soon, man.
My man. Peace.